So this week we're going to look at the law of increase. This is part of a series in which I've been discussing different facets of universal law every week. And so this week is the law of increase. And I just want to summarize some of the laws that we've looked at so far. The first one we looked at was the law of thinking, this idea that everything is created twice. And part of that is paying attention to what we're paying attention to. So something has to be a thought before it can become a thing. Now this seems really, really obvious, but we don't often realize how powerful the truth of this is. If we want something to appear in our reality, we must hold it as a thought. It already has a form when it's a thought. It's not as solid a form as the tangible forms that we're accustomed to, but thought is every bit as real in terms of its beingness as form as anything else. And so something must be held in mind, in thought, in the formless substance which is intelligent before it can materialize here in a tangible way. Now, what this has to do with the law of thinking is that when we pay attention to what we're paying attention to, we notice how scattered our focus often is, and that we can move from being focused on something to forgetting about it or allowing other thoughts in that contradict what we want to create. And so the law of thinking is not only about the fact that everything is created twice, first in mind and then in reality, but the fact that we need to develop an ability to have sustained and consecutive and focused thought on that which we want to bring in to manifestation. After that, we looked at the law of supply. The law of supply simply states that we live in an abundant universe, period, end of sentence. There is no contradiction to this in the law. Now, on the level of appearances, there appears to be a lot of contradiction to that. We're not denying the facts. We're not denying reality, because there are certain realities that we can all observe and we all take part in. But that doesn't mean that we make agreement with reality. We don't have to make agreement with lack. We can make agreement only with abundance. And because of the law of thinking, what we place our attention on, what we pay attention to, is what increases in life. So if we pay attention to lack, we amplify that in our experience. And if we pay attention to abundance and we look for abundance everywhere we can, we amplify that in our experience. Then we looked at the law of attraction. The law of attraction is secondary to the law of vibration, the fact that everything in this universe has a vibrational signature, and that there are an infinite number of frequencies of experience and that can become reality. So the law of attraction is activated by a burning desire for something, and then it is when you couple that with a feeling of grateful expectation that you will receive your burning desire, then that activates the law of attraction, right? So law of thinking, you hold something in mind that you wish to create and manifest on the physical plane. And by the law of attraction, your burning desire for that thing, for that life, for that situation, that circumstance, that love of your life, whatever it is activated by your burning desire and your grateful expectation that the formless substance, the formless intelligence which interpenetrates us and of which we are made, hears you. It picks up your vibration because you are vibrating at the frequency of your burning desire and your mental focus on the thing that you want to draw into your experience. With sustained attention on that, you will bring it in when you have a grateful expectation that that desire has been heard and is being fulfilled. Finally, we looked at the law of receiving and the fact that the law of receiving is activated by giving. So you can't get heat from a wood stove unless you load it up with wood first. And it's the same principle here. You can't reap a harvest until you plant the seeds. So regular and systematic giving is the key. And we talked about giving first, right? So if you want to receive, give first. To give wisely and to give systematically, and again to give expectantly. That when you give and are generous with no agenda naturally you receive, because that is the activation of the circulation, which is part of the law of receiving. So those are the laws that we've looked at so far. And today we're looking at the law of increase, which could also be called the law of praise. If you think about praise, that's noticing the good in something and raising it up. Actually, within the word praise is the word raise. So whatever you want to raise, whatever you want to increase in your experience, you should praise. This is the law of increase. Whatever you praise increases in your experience. Whatever you give attention to increases in your experience. So praise changes our perspective of other people, of our circumstances, of ourselves. Praise changes our physiology. It changes our pattern of life, our vibration, and it changes our present circumstances if we are willing to observe the law of praise in the moment. So what we praise increases. Whether you're praising a plant that you want to help grow, I'm sure many of you have had the experience of having a relationship with a plant. That truly, if you praise a plant and tell it how beautiful it is, how much you love it, and how wonderful it's going to be as it grows and gives you flowers or whatever it is that it gives, that plant will flourish. You can practically bring a plant back from the dead with praise. I've done it. That's another story. But, it's a real thing. So whatever you want to increase in your experience, praise. So praise the money in your bank account. Even if you feel like, if you're depressed about the number of your bank account and you're focused on that, it's not going to help the situation. Praise the money that's in your account, the money that's there. A while back, it seems like a long time ago now, but it wasn't that long ago, I went into the bank to establish a regular giving tax-free savings account. And it was at a time when I didn't have a job and I didn't have any income, and I was feeling pretty low about my ability to generate anything and to take care of myself. And I went into the bank I was like, well, I'm going to respect the money that I have. That was the thought that I had. And so I went into the bank and I set up a tax-free savings account. And I was working with this wonderful woman at the bank who was across the desk from me. And we shared a real touching moment because as I was telling her, I was embarrassed, that I had shown up to create a savings account when there wasn't really any flow in the bank account. But it was a real revelatory moment for me, because as I was sort of making excuses for why I'm going to set up this account, I said, I know I don't have any money coming in right now, but I do have some money that's in there, and I know it's not a lot, but I said, I want to respect the money that I have, and I believe that if I respect that money, it will grow. And I got emotional as I was talking about it, and she was looking at me, and she got emotional, and she looked at me and she said, I think that's a beautiful way to look at things. And I couldn't stop the tears from coming. And I'm telling you, that was a pivotal moment. I decided that I would praise the state of my finances as it was, even though I had judged it previously as being something I should be embarrassed about or ashamed of. And I decided that I would praise it. And let me tell you, I never looked back. It was like this from that moment on. So what you praise, you raise. You can do the same thing for your self-esteem. You praise yourself, you are kind to yourself, you give yourself a pat on the back, you hug yourself. It's a great time to learn how to hug yourself now, because we can't hug each other. My friend Annie taught me this hug. When you want to hug somebody else, you hug yourself, and it feels really good. What you praise, you raise. So praise changes our perspective. In working with the law, Raymond Hollywell's book that I'm drawing a lot of these lessons from, he says, praise changes our observation, our perspective, our whole outlook on life. In the past, we were in the habit of seeking out weaknesses and failings as well as the shortcomings of others, but now we see differently. We look for the accomplishments, the good, and the beauty that is worthy of our praise, right? So how that corresponds to the law of thinking, right? And what you're focused on is what's generated in your experience and what is amplified. Because the law of abundance, because the universe is infinitely abundant, it amplifies everything. It grows everything that we put our attention on. This is the power that we have. So if we pay attention to what's missing, to the shortcomings of other people, to our weaknesses, to the failings of our life, if that's where we place our attention, that is what we amplify, that's what grows. If, however, we praise and we look for the good, we look for the beauty and the opportunity in every circumstance, that is what we place our attention on, and that's what grows in our experience. Wallace Wattles in The Science of Getting Rich says the grateful mind is constantly fixed upon the best, and therefore it tends to become the best. It takes the form or the character of the best, and it will receive the best. So when you focus on the best, when you praise everything, everyone, even just in your mind, that is what you create, and that's what comes back. Now, praise changes our physiology. There is a physical response that happens in our bodies with praise, and scientists know that the cells of our body respond to praise. They seem to know and to expand in strength and capacity and even in intelligence with praise. So we can effect real physical change in ourselves with the act of praise. Praise changes our pattern, the pattern of life that we've been living from, or our vibration, right? Praise changes our vibration. It, when we radiate, right? Radiate or vibrate praise, joy, courage, happiness, everybody's affected by that in a positive way. If you've ever noticed when you praise children, how they seem to kind of glow, and there's a feeling of gladness, and of joy that comes from them when you praise them. This is a very real thing. And it's the same for us. You can recall the feeling of when somebody praised your efforts or, pointed you out for something you did that was really good. A lot of people find it hard to receive praise, but you can't stop the feeling that grows inside of you. It's a feeling of expansion, right? So this is a very real phenomenon. Praise also changes the pattern of vibration of things. So if you've ever heard of or seen the work of Dr. Emoto, he wrote a couple of books. This one is the Hidden Messages in Water. He talks about the effect of praise on molecules of water. So what he did was he took samples of water and he froze them, and then he took photographs of the water crystals, and then he wrote words on vials of water that were taken from the same source, and the crystals formed in the vials, which had the positive words such as love and gratitude, were beautiful. This is that crystal right here. This is the crystal that forms with love and gratitude. So it's been given praise, right? And then the crystals that were in the vials with negative words like hate or evil or declarations like I hate you or things like that were very, very different. And the water couldn't even form crystals in certain instances. And here's some examples of what that looks like. So you can imagine, as we are 70% water or thereabouts, what happens, the incoherence that is created within our own being when we criticize ourselves or when we lack praise toward ourselves. And, water is life, it's sustenance. And, you can see how praise and a higher frequency of vibration consciously enacted on matter creates coherence and beauty, natural beauty and harmonious patterns of existence, health, abundance, right? And a lower frequency or neglect, which is the worst, creates over time incoherence and dissolution and death. This is a fact. So praise can also change our present circumstances. If we find ourselves in difficulty, instead of going immediately to, oh, this is terrible, this is a drag, oh, I wish this hadn't happened, we can look for the good, right? Looking for the good, the opportunity in the situation. The content of our life is the curriculum for our evolution, always. There is no exception to that. No matter what happens, something can be drawn from it that is of value, because everything that happens to us is in the perfection of the universe. There's nothing out of place, and there's nothing ever wrong with what's going on. There's infinite intelligence encoded in every situation. So if we look for the good in our present circumstances, and it's always there to be found, that praise of, well, this is good, this is something that, even if I don't know what it is yet, there's something good in here, that has the ability to shift our perception, our perspective in our present circumstances, and open us up to a new frequency of possibilities, answers, solutions, and things coming to us that would never have come to us if we were in a state of mind that was focused on what was wrong, focused on the problem. So this is how praise changes our present. So I would invite you to do an experiment in your life this week. Every week I say, here's an invitation to do an experiment with your life so that you can see how universal law operates in your life in a very real and practical way. So the experiment I want to invite you to do this week is to ask yourself, to make praise your practice, and to ask yourself, okay, in all things, what can be praised? What is the good in this? What is the opportunity here? And see what happens. See what happens. Keep a journal of how you feel, the reaction of those around you and any changes in your circumstances. It seems like magic, but it isn't magic. It's just the way things are. Remember that everything, absolutely everything, is conspiring for your good, for your highest good, for your evolution. And notice all the ways in which the universe is constantly talking to you, constantly trying to elevate you if you will only learn to pay attention and look for the good, to elevate you to a higher version of yourself, to a higher level of being for yourself. This is a really wonderful opportunity that we have now in the world to ride that wave to a higher state of being, to a higher pattern of life. So I encourage you to look for the good and to praise everything that you can in your life this week. In the meantime, sending you lots of love and blessings. See you next time.